One, two, three, two, three.
What's happening, y'all? This is Mirror Music. I'm Andrew. That's Coop. And today we're going to be talking about. It feels so bad to say, like, I did not discover this guy's been an underground artist for like 15 or 20 years now. But, like, it's something that's come across my algorithm again this year. Um, and I've been listening to this first of the two records, Supply and Demand by Les Dollaz, for I probably listened to it 50 or 60 times in the last month. I mean, it's been like over and over and over and over and over again. And he just released a new one called Dollaz and Cents as we're recording this last Monday. And so we're going to be discussing both of these projects today. He is on Twitter. He is Steak Times Shrimp on Twitter, and has said both of these are tapes. They're not albums proper, which sort of makes sense given what we're listening to. But man, to me, it's good stuff. So good morning. Like, share, subscribe. How we doing?
I'm doing well. I have some ancillary thoughts that I'd like to give before I kick off. First of all, I believe the last episode, people in the Discord chat were making fun of me and making some Star Wars analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who really know me, I'm a fan of like two types of garments over others, and that's bathrobes and hoodies.
And you got both going on right now. Yep.
I'd like to present to everybody because my daughter knows me best. She got me this bathrobe hoodie
Smart lady.
for Christmas, and so now I can give the full Star Wars effect to everybody in our Discord. Now that they've gotten some of that, now they can meme that. It'll be
This is the Mirror Music style right now.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you what. I guess this is quote unquote the first rap artist that you kind of put me on to, and so I'm going to let you take the lead on some of these things. But I did want to tell you that listening to this music, and we're going to get into it some more, and this is one of my ancillary thoughts. So when we were in high school, of all the highly intelligent white guys, all of the black guys thought that you were the coolest.
I didn't know that then, but I appreciate you saying.
Yeah. And so when I listen to your musical choice, I feel like it's very reflective. Like you enjoying this music, and we're going to unpack it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It's very reflective of that guy that we used to talk about when we did used to talk about our white academic contemporaries as men and women.
Yeah.
Like we were like, yeah, but Andrew's like, they're like, Andrew's a little bit more like us than like them. Like, yeah, it's like no, he's white, but it's like, I don't know, he's kind of funky. It's like he's got soul to him. He's got some like, yeah, there's like something going on. So
I appreciate that.
So I think
never change, right?
Right. Well, that was my whole point is that things really don't change that much. When I look at some of your musical taste, and we're going to get into this momentarily, it's like, oh no, that's the guy that I saw walking the halls like junior year in the math halls with the big green Vietnam looking hat and like pink.
My hair was down here. For those of you who don't know.
Yeah, pink tie-dye t-shirt, hair flowing like Jesus, like yeah. So it was definitely reflective of that when I listened to LES. Is it LES or Ellie Dollaz?
I've heard him say both.
Yeah, I've heard him say Ellie Dollaz a lot. So
yeah,
we'll say that. Another thought that I had is that it's a little hot down here actually. This is very warm. It's very warm. It's very comfortable.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit warmer here in the South now. It's not warm, but it's not like 20 degrees anymore. It's
another thought that I had was that when I heard him musically, I said to myself, okay, I immediately said he's from one of three places. I said he's either from somewhere in Tennessee, Nashville, or Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
I said he's either from somewhere in Texas, probably Houston. I said, or he's from the Bay Area. But stylistically, those regions, although they're far apart, musically connect in a lot of like
Yeah.
viable ways. And so it wasn't really until I listened to the second one, Dollars and Cents, that I was like, no, he's from Houston, Texas. This is because Dollars and Cents is more of a Houston, Texas like type of like vibe and product. And so those are some of my ancillary thoughts about just how these projects hit me immediately in just terms of some of my thoughts.
Yeah, he's, I think, from Houston. I mean, I think he was born in New Orleans, and is resides, I think, now in Houston too. I mean, this is not to do much biography, but like, it is important to have
Comparable
a little bit of frame
areas.
of reference because the style comes from the place too, right? I mean, he said, I read that he was a drummer. His dad was a saxophone player, which tracks with what we've heard too. And his uncle was actually a professional jazz musician. He played in the band in the Ray movie, like in Ray Charles's band in that movie. So he's coming from a musical lineage too.
So I was going to ask you for some background on the artist, seeing how you picked this artist. Okay, so there are a couple things now that I want to point out. One of the comparisons that I thought of musically and vocally and stylistically was the rapper Currency, who is from New Orleans. So now him originally being from New Orleans, vocally would make a little bit more sense now, and stylistically a little bit too.
No,
Okay.
he's I don't remember. I read something about Currency too, and when I was researching him, I don't know if he's associated with him necessarily, but like they're certainly like
I
same
find their
transcamp
musical
crew.
yeah, I feel the music. I found their musical compositions to be comparable.
Okay. So
Um, and actually, one of the things that I was going to mention to you is that you enjoying this artist so much made me want to ask you how familiar you are with an artist like a Currency.
not at all. I mean, I know the name, but I couldn't tell you a song. I couldn't.
Okay, so I mean, we're going to
I
kind of
probably
get
heard
into
it in the
that.
background somewhere, but like,
I think you should check out some of Currency's material
okay,
more,
I'll do
and
that.
he's got a lot of it.
Yeah, this guy right here, Ellie Dollaz has released at least 3 projects a year since 2018. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I haven't listened to a ton of it because I've obviously I picked up on Supply and Demand, which is released at the end of January this year, and then Dollars and Cents was a week ago. I have not gone back because I've been stuck on Supply and Demand really, but um, there's a lot. There's a lot there.
I actually enjoy Dollars and Cents more than Supply and Demand.
That was one of those notes that I had actually that I was guessing even before we did this or I prepared to do this that you and the Hip Hop Talks guys too, and most I don't want to say black people, that's horrible, like traditional hip hop fans of the Dollars and Cents is much more in line with like what you would expect on a hip hop album.
Here's
Does
how
that make sense?
no, I understand what you're trying to say. So I think I have a
I know I'm
more
not saying it very well.
no, you're fine. I feel like what you're really trying to say is that, well, Supply and Demand is more nerd rap,
Hmm.
and Dollars and Cents is more like down south,
Mm-hmm.
like core driven hip hop.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And I think there's also a musicality, and I was just going to get into this too. And it's funny that his comes from a family of musicians. Well, not funny. It's actually
It makes
lines
sense.
right up.
Yeah.
Well, it lines up while it connects to a listener like you as well too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that is why you also too enjoy to listen to a Nas, a Rakim, a Black Thought, like come from classically trained families of musicians and play. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And can play some things themselves at times, you know.
Right.
So this is kind of in line with the musical stylings that appeal to you as a hip hop fan.
Yeah.
Because of that. And so not every artist in his vein is going to do that. But I will tell you, you are proving yourself to have a taste bud for a certain style of rap because you're a fan of Larry June too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he's somebody.
It is in this style too. I was recognizing that as I was listening to it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes, because I immediately thought, I'm like, okay, so you like the cool player shit to ride to. That's what I
Mhm.
mean when I'm
Yeah.
saying it's like, oh well, that's the reflective of the guy that we were talking about in high school. It's like it's different now. It's different now because it's like, well, now you're dad and teacher
Mhm.
and
But still in
husband
there.
and part-time farmer in the off season and stuff.
Yeah.
But that guy, that cool ass white guy from high school, like he's still in there, and it reflects in the fact that you like rappers called Larry June and Ellie Dollar Sign, who are
Yeah.
from the Bay Area in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
It's not like when you tell me that you're a fan of the Roots and the Tribe Called Quest and De La, I'm not surprised at all. But
Yeah.
in Common, I'm not surprised at all. But when it's like you're like, no, you need to have this Ellie Dollar Sign, and then I listen to it and I'm like, man, this is player shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. It is. It's the Dollars and Cents album.
I'm like this is the
Yeah.
type of stuff like my father, God rest his soul. This is the type of music my father would ride around to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I almost texted you this morning. I wanted to just say it on the show and get your reaction to it though. When I listen to Dollars and Cents, it's almost like he's listening to Hip Hop Talks and heard you say to Kendrick, "You just make some West Coast shit you can ride to," and he's like, he is almost like he's like, I can do that, I can do that. Here it is. Yep, and that's, I mean, it's not exactly West Coast. It is more Houston, like you said, but like
I mean,
it's certainly got that. But you
here,
also said it was Bayish too. Like, I
here,
mean,
yeah. No. I like I told you on supply and demand. I really couldn't distinguish. By about halfway through supply and demand, I had gotten Tennessee out of the running. Like I was like, okay, he's not from Memphis or Nashville, but I was still like on my Texas Bay
yeah.
Area for supply and demand. Now, when Dollars and Cents came on, I was like,
Oh,
okay. I'm like Texas.
yeah.
Like, and then I think on one of the songs he actually like shouted out Houston in some sort of way.
No, he
And
said
that's when I was like,
something
yeah.
about right in front of Minute Maid Park and something like that too.
Yeah. I think it was the Minute Maid Park
Yeah.
reference where I was like, okay, I think that's in Houston. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see that, but stylistically, but that's what I mean. But here's the thing: traditionally in hip hop lore, the Bay Area and Houston have always had a great relationship and had comparable musical stylings. Like a Scarface and a Too Short have always been cool.
Yeah.
And have always had fan bases that were comparable fan bases. Same thing with UGK and Too Short. That's another thing too. I was meaning to tell you, you need to listen to Too Short. That's who you really need to write down, because all of this style of music that Ellie Dollar Sign does, and Currency, and Larry June, and AJ Snow, and shout out to all of them because they're all dope artists. That's all Too Short's kind of blueprint, though.
Okay.
And
He's the OG of them. All right.
Yeah. So this is kind of Too Short's blueprint modernized. Is what these artists are doing. And I don't have anything. There's nothing wrong with it. We just need to be paying homage.
Yeah.
To Too Short
sure
as well, and explaining. You see, part of the reason why people don't understand history sometimes is we don't explain how the dots are connected when it's happening right in front of us. So when I hear a Ellie Dollar Sign, which I see connects to a Currency, which I see connects to a Larry June, which I see connects to a AJ, that all takes me back to, well, that's Too Short who started that. Like that player pimp shit music. It's on rap terms, you know?
Yeah.
And so we have to take time to like actually highlight him as well in the process of all this. And it's also why you will see Too Short on a lot of these artist projects. Like he's everywhere. Like when I mean Too Short's respected by everybody, Too Short is on Life After Death, like Big's album.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, The World is
forgot
Filled.
it. Maybe I don't know, but
write down The World is Filled.
The World is Filled.
Yeah, that's the name of the record. The World is Filled. The world is filled with pimps and hoes. We're
Okay,
just
that does sound
talking
familiar.
about those I know. Yeah. The world is. That's Carl Thomas singing the hook. Carl Thomas is singing the hook. Big's on there. Puff is on there. You know, it's actually one of Puff's better verses. Definitely sounds like Big wrote.
I was about to say probably he didn't write it, but
yeah, definitely sounds like Big wrote the verse.
Okay.
Yeah, Too Short, When the World is Filled. Too Short's on Jay-Z's Volume 1, which went platinum as well. Yeah, short's the man. So let's get into supply and demand a little bit first.
Okay.
So tell me what attracted you to this album.
One of my first notes, actually, funnily enough, is to see if you were willing to tell me why you think I like it. Because there's some pretty obvious things I think that we've talked about before that are all present here.
Okay, so when I hear Bushido, I'm like, well, this is the perfect intro for a listener like Andrew,
Hmm.
because the musicality, like it's put together more what I like to say composition style than beat machine style.
Yeah.
And so I can see the buy-in you hearing Bushido and being like, oh, this is elegant.
I heard the saxophone when it comes in at the beginning. Like it's
Hmm.
one of those things that came across. I'm familiar with Ellie Dollaz. Shay Serrano tweets about him all the time, like for the last years. I mean, Shay is he's in San Antonio now, but has also lived in Houston for a long time. So they have that kind of connection as well. So anyway, when it came across my algorithm, I recognized the name at least.
Hmm.
And I was like, let me check this out. And I check out most of the new release kind of things, just to listen to a couple songs, just to make sure that I'm not missing anything important. And the saxophone comes on. I'm like, oh, okay. And so that was enough of a hook to pull me along. And then I just was driving. I don't know if I was driving or what. I think I was driving then, and I just didn't want to cut it off. And it just kept going. Yeah.
I mean, that's usually how it happens.
Mm.
You know, like you, the best products, the best projects are the projects that when they end, you like feel satisfied,
Mm-hmm.
but you almost feel like robbed of time with the artist.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hold on. It's like, no, no, no. I
That
was
was it.
enjoying that world. I was enjoying that world with the artist. Take me back in that world again.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the first time I listened through the album, I got to maybe the Ocean View Hotel, which is like the third song. I was like, and then I just
one of my favorites.
I love that song. But I went on to the app and hit the repeat button to like loop just and let the album loop. And Bushido is a distinctive enough song, which is the first one, that you can recognize it when it comes back around. Like it's
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Bushido is one of the better. I mean, I'm gonna have to check and see. It's one of the better album intros this year so far already,
mhm,
though.
yeah,
Definitely.
love it.
Because the job of the first song intro, whatever it
Mhm.
is to draw the listener in.
It
It's just
definitely
like
drew me in.
everything. It's just like public speaking. The first thing is to draw the audience, and then the second thing is to know the audience, and then third is to address the audience that you know.
Mhm.
Well, Bushido does all of those things.
Yep.
So it's like great public speaking. And so a lot of the stuff, and this is things that sometimes hip hop heads don't understand, and I know you understand this actually as an actual English teacher. A lot of the things that make a great rap song are the same things that make a great piece of writing.
Mhm.
That's why the writing still matters. Like it's the beat got to be dope, but it's still like when you actually look at it, because look at what I just talked about. Well, that's something, and this, you learned that in public speaking class and in communications
Mhm.
101 class about, I mean, you learned that in English class too.
Mhm.
It's like, no, target your audience, you know,
Mhm.
know your audience, address your audience,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
like you're fundamentally taught that. Well, when you actually apply some of these fundamental things, like that are looked at in your world, when you actually translate them to the hip hop format,
Mhm.
well, they equal success,
Yep.
and it's not accidental.
No. No.
Yeah,
I didn't realize the first few times I listened to this. Where "Excuse Me While I Kiss the Sky," that's the hook for those of you who haven't
yeah,
listened to
yeah.
this. You know where that comes from, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So that's I mean, everybody listening to this probably knows that's Hendrix Purple Haze, but like it's it took me because the vocalization of it in the hook of Bushido is very different from how it's sung in Purple Haze.
You
But
want to?
So that's why it took me a while to register. That's what that was.
And you want to know what's crazy? I actually have a record that I never released where I actually took that part of Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. I made a longer hook out of it,
Mm-hmm.
but my producer, my cousin, he cut the record from the project.
Aw.
Yeah.
You have to let me
But
listen
this,
to it sometime. I'm sure you have a recording of it somewhere.
I'm actually, you want to know what? I have this old MacBook. Here's how old the MacBook is, real quick. The MacBook is white.
That's at least 15 years old, probably.
Yeah, but it's got a lot of shit on there, so I need to go get the hard drive, the stuff off the hard drive, taken and put on some jump drive. So
Mm-hmm.
when I get that, I'll get that to you because a lot of my old stuff is on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so Jimi Hendrix is an influence, but that's also too, and I'm glad you're bringing up that whole sample, with that whole interpretation of Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. Well, that goes back to the music family too. It's like all the dots start connecting again. Well, you just said it's classically trained musical family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Jimi Hendrix, arguably greatest guitar player ever. Yeah, they're probably familiar with his work,
one
as
would
musicians.
assume,
yes. Yeah, one would assume. So, what was your favorite record on Supply and Demand?
Different ones, different days. Honestly,
Okay.
The Ocean View Hotel is one of my very favorites, and the '86 Banshee is also one of my favorites.
Okay, that's one of my favorites too.
Yeah,
Car Phone is my favorite though.
Oh, that's a fucking good song too. Tell me about why you like that song, and then we'll talk about why I like mine too. But though you probably know already. But
I think I like to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like Car Phone is the best sales pitch on the album, if that makes sense.
Okay, say more about that.
So if you were asking somebody, like, how about this? When you told me about this artist, instead of me just trusting your hip hop opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I don't know if I want to listen to it, Andrew. Send me a record that sounds like him.
Okay.
And this is what I mean by sounds like him, where I don't listen to the record and say, oh, well, I can hear the Currency, Rick Ross, Larry June influence.
Right.
I can just hear him. Carphone would be that record on this album for me, because that's the record where I feel like I can hear like the influence of who he is, where he's from. Carphone is a record where I hear him and I'm like, oh, that's him as an artist. There he goes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the songs that kind of stick to me typically. Okay. So that's why I enjoyed it. And I just think it's a dope ass record too, on top of all of that.
And all of them are dope ass records. Like, I mean, on that record, I mean, yeah.
But yeah, Carphone, Bushido, 86 Banshee, those are three of my top 5 easy. Yeah.
Yeah. They stick. Like, I walk around singing Call Me When You Want Love, I Got What You Need. Like, that just like, I mean, he loops it in the song too, but I walk around. Yeah.
No, it's infectious. It is. It is.
It sticks. It sticks.
It sticks. It's a dope project. What I would tell you is he's been around for a minute. Yeah, because I went back and checked some of his stuff too, and I'm like, oh man, it's
been a while.
Yeah. Like no. He's an established independent artist, so this is the lane that he's carved out for himself. And this is what I always tell people. It's like, oh no, in these days and times, it helps when people choose to cover him like we're choosing to do. We definitely need to tag him on this episode.
Yeah. Oh, I will. He actually does respond on Twitter too. Like he's tapped in on Twitter. He actually pays attention to that.
That's what independent artists are supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That means him and his camp are on top of their job. They're understanding that their bread is buttered by keeping. Well, yeah, they're keeping their base galvanized. That's what you're supposed to do. Part of keeping a base galvanized is engaging with it. Think about it. Like, not to be funny. You know who I am, so you know where this is coming from. It's like, well, shit. The only thing the Democrats actually do well politically is poke their head out every 3.5 years and get enough people galvanized to, I guess, make it something that resembles a fucking race. Because other than that, they really don't do a damn thing. But, so, that's what...
Watch Coop on Unwrapped.
Yeah. Can't wait. which by the way is coming soon. I just may have secured like a pretty nice like interview.
Cool.
I'm going to try to pre-record it soon so that when I release it, yeah, we'll talk about my show a little bit maybe at the end of the show
Yeah.
when we have time. So if you were rating Supply and Demand, what would you rate it?
We're talking objectively, yeah. We're not talking about my personal opinion.
Yeah. Objectively, what would you give it?
Objectively, probably 4.5. Like, I mean, I love this record. Like, and I think it's got something for everybody on it.
So you're a big fan of this record.
I'm a huge fan of this record. Yeah, I told you, like, this came out a month ago, and I haven't stopped listening to it. And we've talked about this on the show before and behind the scenes, like how rarely I get stuck on something new.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've said this before, but I'll say it again now because we might be getting some new people here who haven't ever seen an episode before. Like when I'm making albums of the year lists, especially in non-hip hop land, which is generally what I do for Mirror Music, there were 2 albums in 2023 that I played over and over again, and there were 2 in 2024 that I played over and over again. There were lots that I liked, but only 2 each year that I got stuck on, and this one has been on like constant rotation for over a month now. Well, not over. Well, I guess it is over a month now, but so yeah, it's I hold it very, very high.
I like it. I don't have it as high as you do. I would give it a 4.
I'm okay with that. My guess is that when we talk about Dollaz and Cents too, that our ratings of them are going to be reversed, or I don't know that you'll hold the other one as high either, but like I think you're going to rate the other one more highly.
I am going to rate Dollaz and Cents more highly.
So it's
but not much more highly. It's not going to be a complete reverse.
Yeah.
And so if you want to, we can kind of flip over to that project.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So I think I enjoyed this more because I feel like the artist felt more comfortable to me in this pocket. And so what I tell you is LL Cool J did a great interview with Charlemagne. But one of the things that he talked about is as well, he's like, you have albums that you experiment on.
Yeah.
And then you have albums that you kind of pretty much essentially like you do what you do.
And that's what you have with these 2 right here.
And I think that's what these 2 albums are. And so musically, if you told me Supply and Demand was better, wouldn't argue with you much because I don't think there's a big separation between these 2 albums, except for a few things. The first thing is that, well, I'm not acquainted with this artist. Dollaz and Cents makes me feel more acquainted with the artist than Supply and Demand does.
Okay.
So even if you told me the music on Supply and Demand was better, I would prefer to hear Dollaz and Cents before Supply and Demand, and I think I would have enjoyed Supply and Demand more had I heard them in reverse order. Had I actually heard Dollaz and Cents first, I think I probably would have enjoyed Supply and Demand more because I think you know the artist a little bit better on Dollaz and Cents, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like you would want to hear Good Kid, Mad City before Pimp a Butterfly? I mean, is that
correct?
Kind of,
if you just came out with the Pimp a Butterfly, I'd be like, man, this is great. Who is this guy again?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There has to be, there is a such thing like when you go sit down at any table at Vegas, you have to put some chips in to buy in. You don't just sit down at the table for free.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like Dollaz and Cents is a better buy-in in terms of getting acquainted with the artist. And because I feel like it's a better buy-in, part of why I feel that is not only do I hear it stylistically, that brings me to my second point about the project. He does sound more comfortable on the mic, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, and I didn't really hear it on Supply and Demand because he sounds great on Supply and Demand too. But I do feel like he's a little bit more nimble on the mic on Dollaz and Cents. And that means that he's probably been more comfortable rhyming over those styles of beats for longer. And there's nothing wrong with that. But and I like the fact that also too, Independent artists who have carved out a lane for themselves don't have to take certain risks, just like major label artists. You get what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
And so it's not like he had to take a risk by making Supply and Demand. So I actually applaud him more after listening to Dollars and Cents for making Supply and Demand, even though I enjoy Dollars and Cents more.
Yeah.
I appreciate it when an artist stretches their wings and makes a record like Bushido.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that stylistically. But I will tell you my third point, and this is the thing what separates it and why I would give it a 4.25,
Hmm.
because I did really thoroughly enjoy it. Those last three records on Dollars and Cents to me, oh, that's how you end a project. I don't care
Hmm.
if it's an EP. I don't care if it's an album. I don't
Yeah.
care if it's a double. I don't care if it's a triple. I don't care if it's a single. I don't care if it's six
I
songs. Like,
think Dollars and Cents gets better as it goes. The beginning's okay, but I
beginning's
think
good.
once you get to the third or fourth song, like it gets progressively better.
Yeah, but those
But
last three records, Moving Correct, Slow and Steady, Making No Sense. Oh no, that's a nice run of songs to end the
Mhm.
album. I was highly impressed by the end of that album. So I
Yeah.
think it was the ending to that album,
Hmm.
because I agree with you. Supply and Demand start is better than Dollars and Cents, but that ending on Dollars and Cents is just the separator to me. It's just too
Okay.
strong. Yeah. So that's why I would give it the nod. And I think it stylistically, it is probably more what I prefer to
Right.
listen to. And so, you kind of
Some of
get,
this is just
you,
personal taste, right? Yeah.
yeah, you know what I think it is too? I think sometimes musically, no matter what type of music you like, there's a piece of some artist that kind of just taps into a piece of you that's reflective of who
Hmm.
you are. And so I think we meet in the middle
Yeah.
on some things like an Outcast and a
Right.
Roots,
Yeah.
but you're probably not the Scarface fan that I am.
No. I
You
mean,
know what
I
I'm
love
saying?
Scarface, but no, it's not the same. Like,
Right,
yeah.
right. And so I find that this would probably be more of the middle ground for us
Hmm.
in terms of stylistically, because it's like, oh no, this is some of what I like. This is some of what you like too.
Right.
So, and that's good for an artist like him to be able to have, the attention of, quite frankly, two separate fan bases.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know.
No, the
So,
Supply and Demand is more melodic for sure.
so what were your thoughts on Dollars and Cents?
Um, One of the piggyback things I wanted to say as you were going through that, and I didn't want to interrupt you, is DJ Mr. Rogers, the guy who did the beats for this, also did the ones. I think they've done multiple projects together, also from Houston. But he was the story that I read was that he was Elliot Eilerstein was like going to shows and stuff like that, 10 or 15 years ago, and handing out mixtapes to people or whatever. And DJ Mr. Rogers was the first one to like give him some beats. And the story
Mm.
is, and I don't know how apocryphal the story is because it was reported. It wasn't one of them actually saying it. Is that he gave him 10 beats and he finished the record and gave him the record the next day. He was just so whatever it was, it's one of those musical things that where you connect and you're like, oh, this is exactly, and maybe you didn't even know that's what you were looking for, but that's exactly what I was looking for.
He did make a reference to pretty much like living and constantly working in the studio, and I do like
Hmm.
an artist that practices and approaches that work ethic. Like, think about it. If a rapper actually went to a studio just for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week,
Hmm.
like the way just like typical 9 to 5, and it feels like nobody works a 9 to 5 anymore. It feels like it feels like it feel
Same idea
it
though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But if somebody worked with like that actual ideology in mind, well, it's like, well, really, I'm gonna work 5, 6 days a week, about 8 to 10 hours, and I'm really not gonna, do nothing but have like a day off. Like, think about how much more great material we would probably get from
Hmm.
artists, you
Yeah.
know. But then there's also like, to Lauryn Hill's point, you have to give an artist time to live life to make the record.
Right.
Right.
You
So,
have to have both.
yeah. I think maybe in seasons is a way to do it. Maybe it's good to record like that for like 2 or 3 months and then like not for two or
Mhm.
3 months.
Yeah.
Let some life happen.
Get some breathing space in there for sure. Yeah. Um, you asked me a question like what are my thoughts on the record, I think, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
One of the things I like about both of these is I think his hook game is really, really, really sharp. I think there are lots of memorable ones, and there's not a lot of them that are sung, like in like actual melodies, but there's a melodicism to his voice, if that makes sense. Like
Hmm.
he's not singing like you would see an R&B singer like actually singing the notes, but there's different pitches and different, so it sticks more.
Hmm.
Even the Mac 10 thing that he flipped for Dippin', is, I mean, I did not know that that was him. I mean, I know enough to recognize that it's not his voice, and then he says something in the song about taking things and flipping them, so I looked it up. But I don't know that I've also ever seen, and this is probably just my, not lack of knowledge, not depth of knowledge, um, that I've never seen I've seen people take samples from other songs, I've seen people take hooks from other songs, but I don't know that I've ever seen somebody take, like, 2 bars from, like, the middle of a verse and flip them into a chorus or flip them into a hook. Is that, like, a thing that happens other times? Is that
Hmm. I feel like it has happened before, but
it's not a
I can't
common thing though, right?
I wouldn't find it to be commonplace. No.
Mm,
I feel like it has happened before. I can't think of the actual. I can't give you a specific moment right now that I can just recall
mhm,
offhand, but I feel like that is something that has been done before, but
mhm,
not done often.
yeah. So I love that song too. I think that's a great song.
What, dipping?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the ones that
No,
sticks
that's
with me.
dope. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's what I mean. I enjoyed those records more, just on a personal level.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But objectively, I feel like the artist sounds better over that stuff. But that could be just like comfort level. Like, because here's the thing: when I'm saying that from the perspective of never having heard the artist before.
right.
What if he's got more like Houston shit that's better than Dollars and Cents that we haven't heard?
Yeah. And it's entirely possible. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you guys who are Ellie Dollar Sign fans, if you're tapping into the show to listen to what we have to say, like what, I mean, we will eventually go back and listen to all of it, but like if there's a particular like historical place to start, like which record should we pull first to listen to? If
Yeah.
like
I
Coop
w-
said, like there's a song, he said the car phone song on Supply and Demand, you could hear him, like his voice, his perspective, his whatever. If you wanted to take one record and say that's him or whatever, like are there other previous albums to these two that you would listen to and say, oh, that's like the core of who this guy
so
is?
so I will tell you this: both of these records made me want to go dig into the artist catalog,
Yeah.
and that's the real win
Yep.
for the artist, is when you actually make a new fan
Hmm.
acquire. And in this case, and you got to look at it from this perspective too. Well, us running through his catalog, that's all streams for him. You know what I mean? This is how you play that game. It's like, oh no, the goal is to acquire. You know, it's kind of funny. It's very much like the scripture in Proverbs. Like, the goal is to acquire souls.
Hmm.
He who wins souls is wise. You know,
Yep.
it's the same application of theory. Like, oh no, the goal is to acquire souls, and whoever wins the most souls is wise. You know,
Yep.
yeah. And so he just won two people over in the
Yeah.
past month.
And I just wrote this down so I didn't forget it. But we both are serious music fans. Like we love, that's one of our favorite things in the whole world. But we're not easy fans to win over.
Nope,
Like to
nope.
not, I mean, there's hundreds of artists that I'll play through and be like, yeah, okay, that's cool, and never come back to it. But
I'm.
when I'll come back to something over and over and over again, that's a really rare thing for
I
both of
mean,
us actually.
so truthfully, of all the people that I've worked with and done pod work with, and even been on shows with, you and I are the most critical
Yeah.
in terms of not in terms of actual critique. Like, I'm sometimes maybe like, people get on me about me offering a critical critique, which
Mhm.
which by the way I still think is absurd. It's like, so you're saying that you would like my critique to be less detailed?
Yeah.
Okay, right. It's wild. It's wild to say that when you say that out loud. People actually feel that way. Yeah, you just went way too far in. It's like, oh,
Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? That's what we're doing.
right,
Right. Yeah.
right.
I'm
But
an
I
English
do,
teacher. I go too far into everything. That's just how it works.
right. But I do mean on the level of us being critical in the sense of no, artists making fans out of us, you and I, are difficult in that regard.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, and this, and because here's, and this is my correlation. Well, since we've been doing this, I haven't heard you really talk about an independent artist the way you've talked about Ellie Dollaz this past
Yeah, I've
month.
been trying to get you all to listen to this for a minute now. Like it's been. Can we do it? Can we? And I feel a little bit like I'm like a toddler, like saying, "Can we? Can we? Can we?" Like that kind of way. And like,
No. You're totally
but
viable, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I realized when listening to these two projects, oh, this guy is to you what I Am God is to me. And if you actually look at who we were in high school,
that's pretty
it's
close.
it's it's consistent. You know what I'm saying? Because in high
Exactly.
school, I was like, yeah, Wu Tang and
Hmm.
Outkast and Nas and Biggie and Tupac, and now it's like no, I Am God for me is the closest thing to that, and so
Yeah.
like I can
Yeah.
see the connecting of the dots. And so when I listen to this project, I'm like, oh no, we need to give Ellie Dollaz some love because much like, and I
Mhm.
say this to people all the time, the main reason that I wanted to start doing this, like as far
Mhm.
as like on
Yep.
the podcasting side, was to give artists burn that weren't getting burned that I felt like maybe needed to get more love, more
Yeah.
appreciation, more notoriety, more of their stuff out there. That's why I'm so supportive of an I Am God. That's why I'm
Yeah.
so
Me too.
supportive of an Armin. That's why I'm so supportive of an AJ Snow. That's why I'm about to be so supportive of Ellie Dollar because they are independent guys out
Hmm.
here making great hip hop material that
Yep.
deserve to be heard.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever wanted as an artist. Like I didn't even necessarily want to go platinum or like win Grammy. I just wanted to be heard more than anything else and appreciated for
Yeah.
my work.
Same. I
And I
wasn't a
think
hip hop
that's
artist, obviously, but same. Same.
yeah, and I think that's really what all artists want at the end of the day, at the core of it. Of course, everybody want to make it to the top, and I think that's just normal, especially in a competitive sphere like hip hop.
Hmm.
But just having people appreciate you and what you're doing while you're here also
Hmm.
helps.
Yeah.
You know, they get to like I Am God get to like run back these clips of me like promoting his shit like to his kids one day. Be like, yeah, this dude Coop was like, he was about the biggest,
He was on
most
it from the
infamous
beginning.
name in the independent hip hop space, and he promoted every last one of your pops albums and
Hmm.
and every time. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
that be important to these cats too. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
And it cost us nothing to do it. As a matter of
No.
fact, not being funny, we actually get paid a little bit to do it.
But no, I like. I've
But it
always
doesn't.
wanted to have a thing where I put people on that I like. Like and
Hmm.
and that's the it's always been the frustrating part about the game of doing this is that you kind of have to balance both the
Well, well,
talking
think
about the
about
artists that make the money and then but also have the to be able to have the platform to be able to talk about the people um who really like touch
well,
me musically.
well. Also, too, this is also how it kind of works too. I mean, and let's do the math. Well, the two of us. Now the two of us have touched and agreed on him, and so now let's say two people who follow you for your Grateful Dead
Hmm.
takes comes across this and is like, let me go listen to this because Andrew really likes this guy. And then two people on my side are like, you know what? Coop said he
Hmm.
really liked these projects. What if one of them followers is from Houston, Texas, and doesn't know who this artist is? Now, like two fans is now turned into four fans, and
Right.
those four people might go, and that's really what an independent artist
Yep.
momentum and life is based off of. And so, you know, albeit a little bit of change that we're making, we can also be making a little bit of change for the artist in terms of their momentum. I don't mean change in terms of money for them. I mean change in their actual momentum,
Yeah.
literally by saying, we enjoyed this project. You should go listen to it. Because
Yeah.
literally, that's why people listen to us.
Yep. That's exactly right. Because people
Yeah.
say that about us too. They're pulling it. And I do, not to get too far off track, I do think a lot of the Grateful Dead fans would enjoy Supply and Demand. I think that would. I mean, there's there's a lot of things in there that would, like, musically, bars independent,
Yes,
like musically that would catch their ear too.
but lifestyle wise, they'd like to smoke weed and ride to this. Yes, they would. Yes, they would.
Yeah, if we're being real, for real.
Yeah,
That's
lifestyle wise, these deadheads would like that.
mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's but yeah, no, I got it actually in the comments on Dollars and Cents. I didn't type anything, but like on the and under the YouTube music, when the first comment that I clicked on was like, this is midnight stuff you ride to at midnight when you're driving, like, it's and it makes me feel good to help publicize the music, but it also makes me feel good for you and others to confirm that I hear what I hear,
Yeah.
right?
No,
I'm learning about. I'm obviously, those of you who don't know, I'm not a. I'm becoming more of a hip hop fan, but like, I mean, I am a novice on the scale, right? And so it makes me feel good for people who know a whole lot more about it than I do to confirm that I'm hearing what I'm hearing. Does that make
yeah.
sense?
Well, but when you actually say that, though, you have to understand too. How much of a novice are you? And here's what I mean when I say how much of a novice are you. We've been doing mirror music for almost 3 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh no, there have been people that have popped up in the space that haven't been on YouTube and doing, breakdowns on hip hop for 3 years.
It's true.
And they're not looked at novices. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you're a novice anymore from that respect. I think maybe you could say that in year one of doing this, and maybe you could even say that in year two, but you are kind of like in year three of doing this. And I actually think it is showing in your musical ear and your takes and your breakdowns and the
Mhm.
fluidity with which we speak about the hip hop things. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
it's much
because
easier
it's
for
kind
me
of,
now than it used to be. Yeah.
yeah, like your fluidity is like you're not asking. I mean, you really don't ask me too many questions anymore. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so, like, I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily classify you as a novice anymore because I wouldn't classify anybody that's been doing something for 3 years at a proficient level as a novice.
That's true. I guess what I mean by that, not to dig too far into this, to get off the subject of publicizing these albums, um, what I mean by that is that I didn't grow up in that culture, right? Like, so
Hmm.
I am. I wouldn't use the word interloper exactly, though. People watching this, some people might say that, but and as a white person in this space, I just kind of have to accept that there's some people that are going to say that, but it's I am very cognizant of the fact that, like, I didn't grow up with this kind of music playing all the time. So there are people who I don't mean I think I am a proficient podcaster. I think I am proficient, like, talking on the mic or whatever. I can do that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
You're good at that. You're real good at that.
but also there are people who are watching this who have been immersed in hip hop culture since they were a year old, right? Like, so or, or since they were little. So they have at the very least, a different and more detailed perspective. That's kind of how I feel about
Just because somebody's been doing this is what I mean. See, when I spoke about it, and I don't want to veer too far off. Well, that's why I said, well, you've been doing it proficiently.
it. Mhm.
So I pulled up. I can remember when went to the barber shop when Nas came out with Nasir, and
Mhm.
there was a guy sitting in the chair, and these were two guys from New York talking, and I didn't tell him. I'm like, yeah, I do a pod. I wasn't, what I mean,
Mhm. Sure.
yeah, because this wasn't that time. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Just before that, sure.
Yeah, yeah. This is when I'm still writing, but I'm writing the review for it.
Mhm.
And the guy that's cutting hairs is like, it's the same Nas flow. And the guy in the chair is like, the fuck do you mean when you say that? He's like, it's Nas. He said, that flow works. It's Nas, like he's saying
Yeah.
it to him, like
And Nas got like 300 different flows. Like, I mean, it's
right, but he's talking about a particular pocket of flow that Nas.
Mhm.
I know what he's talking about when
Yeah.
he's saying that. But what I'm saying is that no, he was a guy from New York that was very much, and I used to go into the barbershop all the time. He's very much immersed in the culture.
hmm
But the best he could give about the critical analysis of the project was like, he got that Nas flow.
Mm.
That was the analysis. So just because you're around something your whole life doesn't mean that you're the person that knows how to break that shit down properly. You know what I
No,
mean?
no, I
I'm
do have
saying
lots
that
of
to say
practice breaking shit down. That one I
right,
can do. Like, I have done
right.
that a
So
lot.
what I'm saying is that oh no, he'd been immersed in it his whole life, but his analysis was still poor.
Mm.
You know. So it is about sometimes who you are. So you are like suited to a lot of these things naturally as somebody that quite frankly grades English papers for a living.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
hmm
That covers writing, literary works, is an avid reader and writer yourself,
Yeah.
is actual musician yourself, and actually knows like what chords are and melodies and
hmm
hooks and sonnet like and things of that nature. Who actually understand prose, structure, format, alliteration, metaphor, simile,
hmm
syntax. You get what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, most of these other guys don't have all of that. So them being around it their whole goddamn life really don't mean much against
Well,
somebody
that's
like
why our
you.
show is different, right? Like, that's
Yeah,
or one of the ways that it's different is
yeah.
that we have people that are both this one and hip hop talks actually have people who are both educated in a classical way and educated in a musical way. Like, and you don't see that a ton, really. Like, not to say that other people doing podcasts are not educated necessarily, but like we are definitely pulling from two different directions. Um, there are people that can talk about music that can't do literary breakdowns, and to be perfectly clear, I'm not the only one that can do that amongst our
You know
community.
part of even why I enjoy doing this show um with you, Andrew, is that I think sometimes people forget that no, my buy-in wasn't the fact that my takes were shocking. It was that they were poignant
hmm
and spot on.
Yeah,
It's just nobody else was saying it. And I think sometimes now, because of who I've become in the space, people are pulling up to hear me say something shocking when really I might be saying something that's more poignant and spot on if you actually listen to what I'm saying still.
hmm yeah,
It's like, but now you're not really pulling up for that. And so I've kind of transitioned a lot of that here because that's really why I
yeah,
pulled up to do it anyway, because at my heart, I'm a writer, which means I
yeah,
really, at the end of the day, just want to make my point and go home.
yeah, yeah, exactly. No, this is. I mean, Hip Hop Talks is an awesome show, and I love watching it. And one of the reasons that I love doing this is that this person that I'm talking to here is the person that I've known since I was 15. Like, this is the person. It's not a I don't say exaggerated version, but it's not like a full on. This is like the person that
Right,
I know from being
right.
a kid, and
There, so I tell people, so I treat I have many faces,
mhm,
and so because I have many faces, I know how to exist in different worlds in
right,
terms of like satisfying what needs to happen in that world. So I understand, like, and here's how I've always talked on hip hop centric podcasts. Oh no, I've talked the way that I would talk when I would be talking on Beatty's Ford Road,
right,
outside of the Willies or the Mighty Midget before
mhm,
school.
yeah,
No, I would talk the way that I would talk when I would be on the bus coming from Alexander Graham Middle back to West Boulevard, because
right,
that's like a 35-40 minute
yeah. It's a
bus
long way.
ride. So like during that bus ride, like I'm learning how to dance and we're arguing about Enter the
Mhm,
Wu-Tang. And so and so I when I'm on the hip hop format, well, I'm that guy because that's the world that those people relate to. I'm the
yeah,
guy that used to literally go like catch the city bus in Charlotte to just go rap with other people in other neighborhoods to hear what they sounded like. Like
Right.
I'm that person when I'm doing the hip hop shows. When I'm doing this show, I'm more the guy that you met in journalism class.
Mm-hmm. You're the writer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Academic. Yeah.
but yeah, I'm the writer and the academic here. But this is what I was saying is like, well, the goal was never to be the other guy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The goal was always to be this guy,
Right.
right? Like
It's,
that was
it's
the whole
yeah.
point. That's why it's like ironic that I've become known from being that guy. It's like, oh well, that's not the guy I wanted to be known for. The plan was for none of y'all to even know my real name. It was for me
Yeah.
to literally go under my middle names. So like you
Mhm.
wouldn't even know Coop, like, or that my last name's Cooper. You get what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
plan wasn't for any of that.
Right.
So when people when people talk about like my ego and like all this other stuff, it's like, oh no, the plan was never to meet any of you.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I think that's one of the ways that both this podcast and Hip Hop Talks are different, is that nobody on any of those shows really started any of them because we wanted to be like superstars or like whatever. Like
Yeah.
all of us wanted to be behind the scenes people, and it just so happens that people are really interested in what we have to say. Like that's
Like
not
if somebody would subsidize me for my writing, even to the level that we're being subsidized right now, I would pick it and immediately go off air.
yeah.
Like immediately. Because that's my real passion. That's my real gift. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um
So
it
what would you rate dollars and cents?
Dollars and cents is probably, if I'm saying supply and demand's 4.5, I would say dollars and cents is 4.1, 4.2 ish for my personal ear. Like,
Yeah.
and I also really enjoy it. I really do. It just is it the supply and demand is going to be the one that I'm going to keep playing more, I would
Mhm.
imagine.
I feel like we had the same thing about the Larry June projects a
Yeah, I
couple
think so
years ago.
too. Yeah.
Because I think you liked The Great Escape more.
Hmm.
You did.
And for same reasons, right? Like,
I
yeah.
think very much more for the same reason. I liked the one that was more traditional. I thought was more
Mhm.
Bay Area sounding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's what would you said you 4.25 for this one?
Yeah, I
Is what you
would.
said?
That's my early thought. I haven't listened to Dollars and Cents as much as I've listened to Supply and Demand, because I did actually listen to Supply and Demand a couple weeks ago, when not the first time that you said something, but
Mhm.
the second time um, that you said something. I actually went and listened to it a couple of times, so I'm still more acquainted with Supply and Demand.
Yeah,
But my early thoughts about Dollars and Cents was like, oh yeah, I was like, I like that.
yeah, and that one's only been out a week as we're recording this too, so it's not
Right.
like we've had a lot of time
Like
to
like literally a week. This would be
yeah,
like day 8 of the project being
yeah.
out. Yeah.
I think it came out Monday actually. Like
Oh, Monday.
yeah, so,
Okay.
so yeah, it's been less than a week.
Oh yeah, because it's February 25th. It came out.
Yeah,
Right, right. And
so
today's what?
or
It's
Tuesday
the
maybe.
first. Today's the first,
Today's
right?
March 1st. Yeah, as
Yeah.
we're
So
recording this, we'll publish this episode Tuesday, which is the what fourth? I think fourth.
yeah,
So yeah, if you have not checked out these two albums, we would strongly urge you to do so. Um, they're great. I mean, and if anybody's listening to this from either side of from Grateful Dead world or rock and roll world or from hip hop world or from wherever you're checking in and tapping into this podcast from, um, I think these records have something for everybody.
they do. I enjoyed both of these records. I, you know me, man. I enjoy putting on independent artists. Those are the
Yeah,
relationships I want. So let's reach out, show him a little love. 2 dope projects.
yeah.
Support indie rap artists. Dollaz.
Supply and demand, dollars and cents. Um, dollars and cents pulls the title, I think, from the DJ Quick song, right? Like, or at least it has the same one.
I mean, of course, this is the first thing that I thought about. Dollars and Cents is the MC8 disc, which is, Dollars and Cents might be one of the most underrated disc records of all time.
Mm,
It's one of my personal favorites. Like, I prefer Dollars and Cents to a lot of these quote unquote epic rap songs that we've gotten, not just between those two guys in the past year. Those two guys are getting on my nerves, by the way. I'm so tired of talking about those two guys.
yeah,
For real.
that's one of the things that we're talking about when we're driving, views to things like there's something
No,
that spins through the cycle all the time, so you kind of have to respond to it in
well,
some way,
no,
right?
this
But there's
this is
nothing
what
new,
I mean.
really.
So this is a good way to leave it. So this is what I mean about why I enjoy just supporting an independent artist like Dollaz. All I said for two some odd years was that, well, this dude just made a whack ass album and y'all are acting like the album is good.
Yeah.
Then he actually makes a good album. Look at the difference in the people's responses. And I'm like, that's all I was saying.
Yeah.
And people have been making it seem like I'm just some ranting and raving lunatic that's hating. And I'm like, no, that's why even when I brought it up, I was like, is anybody playing it? And everybody's like, hell yeah, we still playing it. Well, then all you're doing is solidifying my point about the fact that the other album was garbage because y'all wasn't giving it that kind of energy.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean is that, well, people have pulled up more about the fact that they think that I'm ranting and raving, the fact that I might be saying something that's spot on and poignant.
Yeah.
Because all I was saying is, well, he need to make some West Coast shit you can ride to. Now he's making some West Coast shit that
And
you
there
can
it
ride
is.
to. And listen, he's doing the biggest numbers of his career, and I'm the crazy guy. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No, and yeah, I mean, guys, if you are one of those people who said that Coop is ranting and raving about Kendrick or whatever, we have at least two. I think there are two previous episodes on Mirror Music where Coop is waxing poetic about Kendrick. I think one's on Real and one's on Money Trees.
I love
We
Real.
can go back and those are great records.
You want to know?
But
I might repost those records on Twitter today. Those
so
reviews.
that's I've thought about doing that. Like when we have an empty spot in our schedule, I will pull those back out and repost them different
Yeah,
places. Like this
yeah.
is he is. I know I'm biased in this context, but highly complimentary of Kendrick Lamar in those episodes because those records are incredible.
I
So
give everybody the same shake based on the level they perform at.
yeah,
He performs on the highest level. He gets the toughest critique. That's it. That's the way that it
yeah,
goes. Like think about this. Like we ask ourselves like how much longer can LeBron do this? That's a critique.
hmm
Will Kevin Durant win a championship without Steph Curry? That's a critique. Has the Golden State championship window closed? Are they wasting what's left of Steph Curry? That's a critique.
hmm Just asking questions, right?
But they're asking those questions because of the greatness of what they're used to seeing from the players. It's like, no, people feel like no, Kevin Durant should have more than 2 championships. Oh no. Steph Curry's window should still be open because he's still playing at an MVP level. The Warriors are fucking up. Well, LeBron, no 40-year-old has played like this before, so we're just waiting for the legs to fall out from under LeBron. You know what I'm saying?
It will
It's like,
eventually, but it's not right
yeah.
now.
Like, so to whom much is given and much is expected is what I'm saying. And so, like, I rate people appropriately.
And that's why, to me, it's important. Like as a, I don't know, you call myself a critic necessarily, though. I guess that's what we're doing. That you are co-signing what I'm hearing too, like that with an $Dollaz thing, particularly. Like, yes, of course, I want people to like what I like. I want to share what I like. That's fine, but also it makes me feel like I'm making progress, that other people are hearing what I'm hearing, and that's that's a good place to be.
Like, this is one of those things where it's like, oh no, I legitimately went and downloaded these projects,
Good.
Like everybody gets a download from me, but now I can only go download like his catalog and go listen to his stuff. Yeah. Because that's the easiest way for me to do it. I'll just go download all your stuff at once and just go hit play and just like start going through your stuff. Yeah. You know me, dude. I spend 2 or 3 days just listening to the same.
Yep.
Yeah, just running through it. Like, okay. So this was good. This was fun. Glad we got to promote Dollaz. 2 dope projects. I mean, apparently from the way he's working, I'm sure we're going to be getting a 3rd project soon. So.
Yeah. There was a line in one of those songs that said something about once a month. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I heard
like,
that. No, I heard
I was
that.
like, oh, so
I think that
I was like, that's why I was like, wait, is this a thing? Like, is it going to be every month? So I went back and looked, and there were at least 3 per year for like 7 or 8 years now.
I think it'd be nice to see him actually try to do that, but I think he's speaking more to the work ethic of
Yeah,
saying,
I agree.
I make an album's worth of material in 30 days time.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
not album worthy, but album worth. You know what I mean?
And
Because
any
those are two
writer is
different
going to make
things.
some stuff that's not worth sharing. Like you're just
Right,
keep practicing until you get that inspiration and whatever. But I
right.
would say that there's a strong possibility that you'll get at least one more this year, if not two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we're getting another project. I mean, it's March
it's
1st today.
February. Yeah,
Right,
well, again, it is March, isn't it? Shit.
March.
Yeah. So, but yes, I think probably so.
And to everybody, like, share, subscribe. So
Hmm.
we approach 25K, 2500K.
Mm.
And everybody else out there in a far, far galaxy away, may the force be with you.
Thanks for pulling up, guys. We appreciate you. See y'all next time.